Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
Hey, Kev, how's it going?
Hey,
Good to see you. Thanks for showing up.
thanks for inviting me here tonight.
Not a problem.
So-
Not a problem.
This is a nice fire. How long did it take you to get this one going?
A good half hour probably, but
Wow.
yeah, it's a nice one, isn't it?
Yeah, you
Nice
still got the
fire.
two sticks there that you were obviously.
rubbing together.
Well,
That's what you got to do. You got to make it authentic. A nice summertime fire pit. You got to
Yeah.
do it the right way.
perfect night. The moon looks beautiful.
Big, beautiful full moon.
Yeah.
Perfect night for, I think, telling some campfire ghost stories.
Oh yeah,
That's why I had you come out.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm up for that. I got some good old-fashioned campfire ghost stories for you too.
Really?
Yes,
I
I
like
do.
that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You're my guest. I will let you start. Why don't you
Really?
tell me one of your stories?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, I have 3 of them. How many do you have?
I can match you. I can go story for story.
All right, what we'll do is we'll bounce back and forth.
All right. That sounds
right.
great.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
May you remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
Welcome to The Open-Minded Skeptic with your hosts, Phil and Sir.
Welcome to the Open-Minded Skeptic.
May you remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries.
Well, my story begins a long time ago. Not like other stories.
Or not like other stories.
No, they all start a long time ago. And
In a faraway place?
A very faraway place. Actually, right here in Connecticut, I'm sure.
That is a faraway place.
Yeah. You've seen the size of Connecticut?
I have. You could walk it in about 3 hours.
It took me 2 hours to get here. And I started in Florida. But this happened a long time ago. And what it was is this is a story about the one-armed signal man. And it goes a little something like this.
All right.
A long time ago, this guy, he was walking the tracks, just checking it out, and he heard this voice go, "Hello down there, look out, look out." And he looked and he saw this light waving in the distance, back and forth. It was a night much like tonight, Phil.
Really?
Much like tonight. Moon out, and it was nice.
Yeah.
So he freaked out a little bit, and he ran down there, and when he got to the area that he saw the man standing, he was gone.
Huh.
But he just freaked him out. He's like, what am I looking out for? And it's a good thing that he was standing where he was, because the train just came right by him fast. He didn't hear it coming or nothing.
Wow.
And the train went by. And he's
Wow.
like, whoa, it's a good thing I came to see what this is about. Next night, he's doing, his walk again at night by the train tracks. Hears it again. "Hello down there! Look out! Look out!" And he's like, "What the heck?"
Yeah.
So he goes running to see, and what he sees is there's this guy waving this lantern back and forth.
Okay.
But he notices that the other hand, there's nothing there.
So he's only got one hand.
He has one hand
Holding
onto
a
this
lantern.
thing. Half of his arm and hand is gone.
Ugh.
In other words, he's a stump on this side.
Stump.
Yeah. So he freaks out and he tries to get up to him. And then, right then, a train comes out from behind him. Just like that. From around the curve comes a train. He didn't hear it coming. He didn't feel the ground rumbling or anything.
Wow.
It's a good thing he went to where he was.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
Do you know that the third night, it happened again?
3 nights in a row.
Well, it always seems to happen 3 nights in a row. "Hello down there, look out, look out." And he's like, "This is ridiculous. I'm not bothering with this." The next morning, they said in the newspaper, "Man killed on tracks."
Wow. Because
He didn't get out of the
he
way.
didn't get out of the way. He didn't want to believe it.
He got squished,
No kidding.
run over.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way to end a story.
Well,
I thought it would be a little more upbeat.
no. I was hoping for that myself. Like maybe he grew an arm.
Yeah.
No,
No kidding. Oh, wow.
that's a shame.
That's a horrible story. I'm sorry to hear this guy died.
Yeah.
That's,
That log's going out.
Are you a skeptic, or are you open-minded? Please call 571-408 or 9372.
Wait, hold on a second. Let me throw
Sure.
another one on. Just put another log on there.
Sure, no problem. Thanks, man.
All right.
Oh,
there we go.
great, much warmer.
Is it? Yo, sparks got my eye. Hold on.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. All
got
right.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
it's all right. There's a couple of eyelashes, too.
Sorry about that, too.
Okay.
I got some in the locker. But go ahead. What, you have a story?
You know what? I hope my story's a little bit better. A little bit more upbeat. When I was a kid at camp,
Yes.
I went to a camp here in Connecticut called Camp Hazen.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a legend of the Hazen Hook Man.
What?
Yeah. Supposedly, because it's a big lake and a lot of people fish on the lake,
Yeah.
there was a fisherman nearby. And the guy was one of these like deep sea open water fishermen, so he had a lot of hooks and he had a lot of grappling poles and whatnot. But something happened to him. He had an accident and he lost one of his arms, or lost one of his hands, I should say. And being an old rugged New Englander,
Yeah.
he fashioned one in a pinch. He shoved an old grappling hook into the stump,
Into his nubbin?
into his nubbin, and he became a hook man. But it also made him a little crazy because he was now angry
Yeah.
because of what happened. So he was so angry he would never meet a mate now that he was injured on this fishing vessel and he had now a hook for a hand.
Oh, my gosh.
So it made him a little twisted. So he got back and he lived, like I said, right near the lake. And back in the 50s, people would drive up there because it was really secluded and dark. And the kids would like to sit there and make out in front of the waterfront. But it would drive him nuts because he'd see these couples together in love.
Right.
And he's now alone for the rest of his life, miserable. So he'd go down there and the kids would be making out and they'd hear noises.
Yeah.
Like thumping and tapping. And it was like metal on metal.
Oh, God.
And they'd hear squeaking like a nail scraping along the car. So the kids got scared and they would drive away. Well, one night, this couple was there and they just didn't want to leave. And the noises were getting louder.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they realized somebody was trying to jimmy the door open. And if you remember the old cars, the handle kind of stuck out.
Yeah.
So,
There's room for
so
it.
the door was, the handle was clunk, 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 clunk. So the kid got scared, gassed it, took off. And when he got down to the local sheriff's office, he opened the door and told the sheriff what was going on, or I should say, back then, the local constable. They came out to look at the car, and there hanging from the door was this bloody, rusty hook.
Oh, my God. That's not good. That's terrible.
So the legend was, because we were all camped there,
Yeah.
that not to leave the campsite, because what happened was the man went and hid in the local mountain range and
Yeah.
some of the caves in the area that where the camp now is, and he could still be lurking in one of those old caves. And that's the story of the Hazen Hook Man. What do you think?
Man, that's a good one.
That's a little scary.
That's got me a little, got my hairs up on the back of my neck.
Imagine that. Open the
I don't
door.
even have hair on my head.
You don't have any hair on your head. I'm sorry,
no,
but the
it's
moon's
all right.
giving a nice glow.
Thank you. It's also helping us keep our eyes on things around here while
Absolutely.
the fire lights this area.
Yes, yes.
Well,
I wish, I should have brought some weenies out here with us. I mean, I did bring a couple of cocktails, so
and yeah, thank you so much for bringing.
cold beer.
It's
Nice.
funny we're drinking Hooker beer when you told that story. So.
I know. See, I was thinking.
Well, I got another one for you.
Okay.
This has to do with an insane asylum that's
Okay.
right down the road.
Ooh.
It's this is pretty powerful, but this executive and his wife went out to this dinner party,
Sure.
and they had a really good time.
Uh-huh.
They were on their way back down I-91,
Yep.
like you do, and they were traveling, and on the radio it says, be on the lookout for a man escaped from the asylum on Heritage Road in Bristol, Connecticut.
Ooh.
So, of course, they freak out. Oh my gosh, a guy escaped from the insane asylum.
Yeah.
He's considered very dangerous. Oh my gosh, honey, what are we going to do? We're just going to get home
Uh-huh.
and just lock our doors and stay inside.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
they're traveling down the
Hello.
road. And all of a sudden, there's a and then
Oh boy.
flat tire.
Yep.
You know, like you do on 91.
Sure.
So they pull over to the side of the road, and the wife is like, "Honey, don't be long." And he goes out and he goes to change the tire. Well, all of a sudden you hear sirens and everything pulling up.
Mm-hmm.
Madam, stay in the car, stay in the car. And on top of the car, you hear this,
Oh boy. Jeez.
Madam, stay in the car, don't move.
All right, get down from the picnic table. Stop stomping on it.
Well, it's important for the story.
I know, I hear you. I don't want you to go through it, though.
Oh, I
It's an
won't.
old table.
It's okay. Let me stand over here.
That's better.
Same table. So, Madam, stay in the car. It's very important. What I need you to do, open the door, come out of the side, and run to us as fast as you can. She's like, okay, if that's what you want me to do. What about my husband? Don't worry about him. Just come out of the car and run to me as fast as you can. So she gets out of the car and she starts running. And she trips and falls down, and she turns to look to see a crazy man on top of the roof with her husband's head slamming it on top of the car over and over again.
Brutal.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah. I bet that brings the hairs up in the back of your neck, what's left of it.
Yes, that's a good one.
Thank you.
That's a good creepy story right there.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh wow. I have a very quick one,
Okay.
but it was always really scary. Just the thought of it. It's called The White Lady. We used to tell this one when we were in camp, but we were all older now, so we were all right around the age of driving. And the story goes, when you guys get your license, you got to watch out some of these old back roads in Connecticut for the White Lady. And we'd all be like, what's this all about? Well, the White Lady was a woman who would just show up in a dirt road, back road in the middle of the night, on a night like this, big full moon, so you could see her nice and clear. And you just see this woman in a long flowing gown, and she'd just be walking, and she'd just be walking down the street, and you'd start to slow down to wonder if you need to help her. But you're not supposed to slow down. You're not supposed to stop, because if she notices that you stop, she'll turn and look at you. And then she'll run towards you.
What happens then?
Supposedly, she runs right up to you, and she tries to scream at the car, but she vanishes as soon as she gets close to you, which makes it even scarier. So now you're going to drive and take off as fast as you can. A lot of people supposedly have seen it, and the last time somebody saw the White Lady, that's exactly what happened. They saw this woman in the road.
Yeah.
She started slowing down, and she turned and started running right to the front of the guy's truck.
Yeah.
And the guy was getting so scared. He's like, "Whoa, lady, no, you don't! You're going to hit my car!" And just as she got to the front bumper, just a blast of wind went over the hood of the car.
Freaky.
Freaky.
Wow. And that was up here?
That was up here. So yeah, that's the story of the White Lady. And we'd always say that one, like I said, when we were, the older kids got to hear that story.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Well, I got one more for you.
Okay. I'm game. I'm ready. Let me have one more sip of my beer here.
Me too.
Oh, that's delicious stuff.
Ooh, boy.
Oh, that's some good sake.
Some good sake.
All right, so...
Oh, boo, that was good.
I'll take the trout off the fire here. I'll make you some sushi.
All right, so this one is quite, and I'm sure you've heard this before too. This is the classic of all.
I've already heard it. I don't want to hear it.
Oh.
I'll just tell my story. No.
Okay.
I don't know. You haven't told me yet, so I don't know if I've heard it.
This has to do with driving home late at night,
Okay.
especially I-91 or the Merritt Parkway 15 in Connecticut. And again, it's sort of like your White Lady story. This woman in a dress, obviously in her early 20s, on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. And she's, her hair's long and stringy and it's just hanging down. She's standing there. Purse in her hand in the middle, and she's wearing this gown. And people pull over, and she says, "My house is just down around the corner. My boyfriend left me, and I'm all alone."
Oh, yeah. You want to help her out.
Yeah, he's like, "I'll give you a ride home, no problem. Get in the back." She gets in the back. She gives directions. House is right up around the corner. Take her home.
Sorry, too much beer.
So, I was going to let you have that freedom. And she belches, right?
It was murder. Killed him with a belch. Come on, Quincy, get serious. But it was murder.
Smelled of hops and dry mustard.
That's what the kids are into these days.
Hops and dry mustard. It's going off the shelves like pancake oil.
It was a Bavarian mustard.
Bavarian mustard.
Bavarian mustard.
Oh gosh, I love funny. Okay.
So she's given the directions to the house.
Gives her directions to the house. Turn left. Okay. And then she gets to the house, and she's like, "Please go up to the door and tell my mother that I'm home." So it's like, "Sure." He goes up to the door, knocks, opens the door. Here she comes, and he says, "Madam, I brought home your daughter. Apparently, her boyfriend ditched her, and she doesn't know what to do." And the woman looks confused and flustered.
Okay.
He says, "Why don't you come in?" He says, "Does she look like this?" And there's a picture on the wall. And he goes, "Yeah, she's in the car." And she goes, "No, she's not. She died a long time ago in a car accident with her boyfriend right off of the Merritt Parkway."
Yikes.
And every single anniversary, on the day of her death, some stranger drives her home.
On the day of her death. That's creepy.
15 years ago.
Wow. That's...
And it's
Now I feel sad.
well, she's okay now. Because she got
Not
a
if-
ride home, but,
Yeah.
And that's known as the hitchhiker.
That's the hitchhiker. I
Popular
like it.
everywhere.
I like that story. Sad, but
sad.
kind of scary, too. Imagine how that guy must have felt, thinking he was helping her out, and then realized he had a ghost in his car. Ooh.
Are you a skeptic, or are you open-minded? That number again is 571-408-CERB, or 9372.
I do have a little story. It's kind of sad. It's very sad, just like that last one that you just told.
I don't mean to bring you down.
No. But this was also very scary. Again,
Sure.
my stories I remember from camp, and it was all camp-based. And again, being here in Connecticut, we like to bring out things that were in the area, so to make it even spookier.
Mm-hmm.
There was a town, and it was called Dudleytown. Dudleytown was an old town that was set up back in the very early colonial days, like the 1600s, when the first settlers got here.
Right.
And the founder of the town supposedly was related to the king at the time, who broke away from the church, and he beheaded his wife.
Oh, that's not good.
No, and because of it, supposedly brought a curse upon the family.
Okay.
So now the town founder comes, sets up this little community here in Connecticut, and no sooner is it set up, it prospered for a short while, but then there was all kinds of problems. People just start dying. People started getting sick. The town elders were all starting to go kind of cuckoo.
Right.
Especially the guy that set up the town. And the story we always heard was that one night he snapped and he went house to house with an axe.
Oy.
And he butchered all of the citizens in Dudleytown. And then he hung himself. And when some people came through, they just found this massacre. And they first were like, the Indians must have done it because of the settlers and whatnot. Then they go into a barn or a house and they see this man hanging with a note talking about the demons in the land made him do it. And here we are at camp, and the counselors telling the story would say, just over that ridge is where the remains of Dudleytown is. And it was built on old ancient Indian burial grounds. And the spirits of the Indians are what really caused the curse of Dudleytown.
That awesome.
Night, night, sleep tight. Needless to say, none of us slept very well.
I'm sure not. Did anybody try creeping over to find it?
Oh yeah. Well, I was there as a little kid, and we were like, no, I'm not going. But you know what, Kev? why don't we talk about the origins of our stories?
That's a great idea.
Because I can tell you the origins of my stories. Tell me the origins of yours.
Okay.
And I think our listeners would probably appreciate that too, to find out a little more about these tales we just told.
That would be great.
All right. So tell me about the one-armed signalman, your very first story.
Well, that story actually is a mix of two stories. One being an old story about a signalman.
Okay.
That has been told for years. Watch out, look out below, look out, look out. That gentleman in the story supposedly was killed because he got hit by a train. He was the one who used to signal the trains back.
Sure.
And it's a combo of that, and that story used to be told over and over again, probably from, I'm going to guess, like the early 1700s.
Yep.
But back in the Civil War days, I mean, way back in the Civil War days, when trains were first being connected to other areas, they had to pull pins out.
Because they do that, right.
Yeah, they pulled pins out between different cars.
Yep.
And by accident, sometimes their arms would be chopped off by trains.
Yeah.
Or, so there were a lot of one-armed signalmen, or their hands would be so deformed
Getting
from
crushed
getting
and
crushed
whatnot.
and stuff like that.
Delicious. Oh, that sounds horrible.
That makes one hell of a meat pizza.
Oh,
So what happens is you combine those stories together and you end up with this repetitive story that you hear at campfires.
Yep.
About one-armed signalmans.
Got it.
And it comes in good, especially during a campfire story, because of the fact that there's always the attack of that train coming around.
Yeah.
And when you tell the story, you have to go, and then the train comes around the bend, and little kids, ah! So that's where that comes in here.
Sure. Well, my story, the Camp Hazen story, actually was based on Camp Hazen. There's a real camp here in Connecticut. It's run by the YMCA now.
Yeah.
There are some cliffs on one of the nature walks that have some little caves in them. And supposedly the story was this guy existed. I can't prove if he did or didn't, to be honest with you. But being a camper sitting around the campfire down at the beachfront of the lake, and you're hearing these stories, and you just know the day before you were rappelling off those rocks or climbing near those rocks, and you see the caves. And then the counselors would be like, hey, you guys remember the caves we saw yesterday? Well, let's talk about that.
Why'd y'all just move in a little closer?
And the creepy thing, I do remember, and I went there for 4 or 5 years. It's right near the Connecticut River, which isn't far also from the ocean here.
Is that
Hammonasset?
Oh, Hammonasset, yes.
It's down that way.
Okay.
So it's a deep river area, somewhere in that area. Okay. So there are several houses that have fishing gaff hooks and buoys and other deep sea fishing paraphernalia on the garages as you drive by going to Camp Hazen. So to think that somebody lived nearby in the 50s and 60s, that was the big tale. But
I love when the history's
I bet you we could get 1,000 people listening to this radio program who could call us up and say, hey, I got a Hookman story in my area.
Of course.
So, that's the way we set it up here in Connecticut, and I'm sure there's other versions out there.
You and I were discussing the movie Meatballs.
Yeah, that's right.
The famous version of that is in Meatballs.
That's what inspired me to do this evening.
Really?
Yeah, just talking about it, thinking about camp, and a little fire pit storytelling session.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like the most famous story too. The hook is always rattling off in the car.
Yep.
I love that.
That's right, yeah.
The story of the poor woman that was locked in the car and her husband's head is bashing on the hood.
Yeah. Yes.
That actually is a story that came from an album called Night Watch.
Oh.
With the narrator Peter Lee. Peter F. Lee did that record, and he told a bunch of stories, but that story I have heard several times in different camping situations.
Really? Okay.
Only it's always different, but it always ends up with the husband's head being whacked on top of the car.
Oh.
And it's a wonderful story because you have a sound to go with, which doesn't make sense. The whole time, something is going on, but you don't know why until you find out it was the husband's head being slammed on top of the car, which is great.
That's great. That is a good story.
And it always got me tickled.
I'm thinking the guy was like jumping up there, maybe he had a baseball bat or something.
Right.
But then to say the head caught me off
slamming
guard.
on
That's
the head,
great.
on top of the thing. And it's messy, too.
Yeah, very messy. I'm not washing that car. Well, my second story, I basically narrated it when I was telling the history of it when I told it, and that is we have in Monroe, Connecticut,
Right.
there is a cemetery where this white woman is seen, and it's considered the most haunted cemetery in New England. Matter of fact, Ed Warren is buried in this exact cemetery. Ed and Lorraine Warren, the famous demonologists and paranormal investigators.
The Warrens.
The Warrens. Well, Ed, when he passed away, he wanted to be buried there, and they investigated the cemetery many, many times.
Right.
And it is well known that the way the cemetery is set up, the road is kind of like it's sort of like a fork. So you could approach the cemetery by 2 or 3 directions, if I remember correctly,
Right.
but definitely 2. And this woman is seen walking around on the road, along the edge of the road, and she is, just like I explained it, just this white silhouette of a woman. And the history, supposedly, there's a headstone in there, and there's a woman's name, and forgive me for not remembering her name, but on the stone, it says right on it that her son, died before her. So it's believed she is the white woman looking for her child.
Oh, my God.
And she's, you look back, you go back, it was like in the 1800s, the tombstone. I remember it's like 1805 or something. So it was early 1800s. And this is a time when infant mortality was very high still.
Right.
And people were still very, very religious and religiously bound. So it's very easy to believe this is a woman who is torn with the loss of her child, and even after death is still seeking him.
Looking.
Yep.
It's
and
freaky.
It is freaky. And supposedly the story about the man seeing it, that happened just as recently as about 10 or 15 years ago. So she's still out there being seen. And I have a sister-in-law who swears that she saw the white lady herself. She had her own encounter. Yep. And she just saw her walking along the road, and then she just vanished at the edge of the cemetery.
That kind of stuff gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
To put it in terms a little higher than layman's.
But again, that's another story that you can find nationwide.
Of course.
Everybody has some sort of a version of that white lady walking along the road.
Yeah.
And then approaching your car, vanishing as you get close to her. One of the two, but she always vanishes before anybody can actually interact with her. What about your last story?
The last story of mine is the ever-famous hitchhiker. And that one goes way back. The original writer, I have no clue, and honestly, I don't think any of you listening, well, if anybody is listening.
Yeah, they're listening.
Out here in the woods.
Well, no, they're not listening here. They'll be listening as soon as we put this into the computer.
That's right.
And we'll get this up on the computer, and boom.
And you're hearing it.
And you're
now.
hearing it. And you're hearing it now. When will then be now?
Then. But it's been on every single Halloween record I have since probably 1965 to 70.
Sure.
It's when it started just showing up on every album.
Sure.
All the way up to the late 90s. I even have a late 90s album and the Hitchhikers on there.
Yeah.
And it's always the same story.
Yep.
And it's such a ghostly fable that could be told a billion different ways. It doesn't have to be a girl about her boyfriend. It could be a wife about her husband. It can be even a husband about her wife. It could be you helped old man walk across the street and his,
the lost child.
And it's the same thing. It's connected.
And it comes right back, and it kind of ties into the old urban legends where maybe it was rooted originally in some sort of a story, but now it's become an urban legend.
Right.
Sort of like the White Lady. At least I have roots to where it really comes from in Connecticut, but nationwide it becomes an urban legend. And but it pulls on your emotions to wanting to be a good Samaritan and helping people.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. And then the creep factor comes in when you find out there was a ghost in my car. Yeah, wonderful. I was just talking to a spook. This creepy, spooky person.
How do you get that out of your car?
I got ectoplasm all over my seats.
That new car smell is history.
That's gone.
Forget it.
Put a black light on your seat and the police will be like, what are you up to?
Exactly. It'll be over.
Are you a skeptic, or are you open-minded? That number again is 571-408-CERB or 9372.
Speaking of the woods, real quick, I want to tell you where my third story comes from.
Sure.
There is an old location called Dudleytown. It was a real settlement, and it was truly abandoned for all sorts of different reasons. The reason we were always told the guy just went crazy and hacked everybody to death.
Right.
But like I said, there's so many different versions of what happened. All they know is it only existed for a handful of years, and then it just completely, poof, everybody disappeared. And the only thing left were the foundations of the houses, which still exist out in the woods. It is really close to a state park, which I am not going to name. Most people from Connecticut and most people who locally look things up for ghost enthusiasts, they could find it and they can find out where it is. And the reason I'm not going to do it is for the fact that the land is right next to private property, and the only access, the easy access, is going up this road to this guy's house, and you basically have to cut through his side yard to get there. And allegedly the cops in the area give out more trespassing tickets than they give speeding tickets because it's become a hot spot for ghost enthusiasts looking to have a little scare,
Get their kick.
But I will tell you, yes, we used to hear these stories at camp, and when I was older, my girlfriend and I decided to drive out there, and we parked on the road, and there were no trespassing signs, and I
Did you trespass?
I trespassed. It was 30 years ago. I was a teenager.
Still got a job as a prison guard.
Yes, amazing, isn't it? I didn't tell him about that. That's why I kept it
let
to
that
myself.
out of
I let that out now that I'm retired. But I will tell you real quick, yes, we saw the old foundations. They're all covered over with grass and moss and trees. But as soon as we walked in, it got at least 15 to 20 degrees colder.
Really?
Yeah, and we were in a canopy of trees. So it's not like, you just go from open field and you walk into a canopy of trees and there's that natural coolness being in the shade. We were already in the shade, and you had to walk about 100 yards or 200 yards or so, and it's kind of an uphill climb a little bit, and then suddenly you start seeing foundations on this old road.
Right.
It literally got colder once you started walking past the foundations. There was no creepiness other than that. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to embellish the story in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
She got a little more creeped out. She pointed out there was no birds or chirping.
Too.
I can't remember that. I'm not going to lie to you. Again, this is 30 years ago. I can't remember that. But I'm like, look, you want to leave? Let's go. We'll leave. And we did. We walked back, and as soon as we got past the foundations and we got a little closer to the edge of the guy's property, instantly got warmer.
Was there any fire in the area at any time?
No. Like I said, this is a state park.
Yeah.
There's skiing in the area, but it was the summertime. It's heavy foliage. Matter of fact, I do remember that it was a misty, kind of a muggy day. So there was a lot of moisture.
Yeah.
And we went purposely early in the day because we knew it was going to be a hot summer day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that, and we hoped the guy was not home, in which he was working, which was good. But yeah, just once we got in there, it just got cold.
Wow. No
It got
pictures or anything
cold.
you didn't take there?
No, and allegedly, and what triggered us was there was a local community college report from Mattituck Community College that one of their little reporters told the story of Dudleytown, and we were like, oh, let's go check it out. And I'm like, I remember that as a kid. We used to talk about that. And the thing that I didn't know, though, was that the campsite that I attended was not even close to where Dudleytown was, because it was a completely different. Where Dudleytown was located. So it was a scare tactic to scare the kids,
Right.
But it was based in a factual place.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we read the article, we ran up there, and ever since then, though, the guy that owns the property is livid. People are parking up there, trespassing up there. So
You ever see
yes.
him with an axe?
Get off of my property before I cut you in
You know what?
fours.
I think a few more years of people going up there. I wouldn't doubt if he does it himself. Yeah, maybe.
Let me ask you a question.
maybe the curse is affecting him, and he's starting to go a little crazy.
I've seen engines.
Yep. Yeah, I will give you a little hint if you are looking to research this. It is an Indian name of the mountain range or the park that this is on. So that whole Indian burial ground thing came into play because of that. And supposedly that's where they named the mountain. So that's basically the story that I have about Dudleytown. But it was a creepy little location, middle of nowhere. But yeah, it does have a creepy history, and there's all kinds of stories. So feel free to look it up on the internet. And
Well, I think you and I need to do an episode on the Dudley situation.
get a little more in depth in it.
I think we should. Because I have some septic tank stuff to talk about.
You're saying too many brews. I can't even speak now. You saying shenanigans?
I'm saying
You
shenanigans
calling
on
me
a couple
shenanigans?
of things. No, not on you. Not at
My
all.
story?
Not on your story either. On the story.
The story, you call them malarkey on the story.
Possibly.
A little bit, yeah.
And I want to go in depth on it in another episode, though.
Okay. Maybe we should change it to malarkey and shenanigans. 'Cause that's-
Sounds like a crime fighting unit. Malaki, where are you?
the Irish crime fighters.
That's right.
Go figure, 2 Irish cops on the beat. Malarkey and shenanigans.
Coming to a town near you.
All right, boys, break it up. There's nothing else here to see. Let's go. But I'm the coroner. I don't care who you are. Don't look at the dead body. Get out of here. It's my job. Don't give me any lip, son. Did you hear this? Malarkey, what do you make of this? I don't know. I think we ought to hold him in is what we ought to do.
Hold him in anyway.
Get the paddy wagon.
It's a paddy wagon. Of course. I could just say paddy wagon while we're at it.
Oh, man, I actually have a throbbing headache.
Sorry. Well, listen. You know what would be amazing?
What would be amazing?
Amazing, it would be Grace sung by me.
Amazing Grace, sung
Right
by
here. Can I see that acoustic?
you. This one here?
Yeah, sure.
Hold on 1 second. What am I doing wrong?
Just pick it up. There you
There
go.
you go.
You
Jeez,
didn't know I kept that in the woods, did you?
I did not even see you bring that in with you. Hid that behind me.
Yeah.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
No, I'm kidding. That
Don't-
was stupid. All right.
I thought you were going to put a little more soul into it and be
too.
like, oh, amazing grace,
You want to do that?
how sweet the sound. And I
Go ahead.
don't know the rest of this song.
I got to get the right key.
Wow, that's terrible.
Out here, I thought it'd be nice to play a song I've been working on in the woods here. Ready?
Right here in the woods. I like this. Is that what you were doing behind the tree?
I'm still working on it.
I'm a little nervous, actually.
It's called Squeal Like a Pig. Listen, I brought my iPad.
You did bring your
My
iPad.
plug over there.
You are just, you know what? I brought a couple of beers and some wood and some matches. You brought your iPad, your guitar.
I sure did.
Did you bring your sleeping bag?
No.
Ah, would have been great. We could have had a sleep out. Beautiful
You said you were
moonlight.
bringing yours, so I figured why bother?
Aye.
Give me that guitar. I want to play the rest of that song. I brought my iPad with me.
Yeah, that's what that glow is. Okay.
That's what this is here. It's not my head anymore. It's this.
Yeah, that's smart. That's,
And it has my buddy Chris called in with some stories, Christopher Tupa.
yeah.
So it was nice of him. He sent in a story that has some history to it.
Okay.
And then he also sent us a story that he used to say when he was camp counselor and he told other kids.
Yep.
So let's listen to those right now.
Sounds great. He called on the hotline number.
He called on the hotline number, which has been somehow playing throughout the entire show. I don't know how that works.
It's the magic of Disney and editing.
That's right. It's the magic of Disney. It's the magic of the spirit world.
There you go. Yes, this is way too much fun. People are going to be like, I thought this was going to be a serious debate about spooks and
No.
ghosts, and those two idiots are goofing around, drinking beers on the radio for all.
That's not right.
That's not right.
Yeah. Let me play that.
Play Christopher Doofus.
Hey, Kev, this is Christopher. I can tell you a campfire story that I told some kids. So our church does this thing where they send groups of kids to people's houses for the weekend, and we do different activities. And we've done it a couple times, and we always get, maybe 10 to 12 girls that come over to our house, and they're all like between 11 and 14 or whatever. And so, we camp out on the floor and do all this kind of stuff. But so the last time we did it last year, all the girls come over, and so I kind of want to get to know everybody. So we have a little fire out in the yard, sit around and try to do some icebreakers and stuff. And we live in an older house. It's a 2-story house, and it's over 100 years old. And one of the girls was like, "Hey, is your house haunted?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know if it's haunted, but let me tell you a story." And then I kind of played it up, and I was like, I don't know, you guys are kind of young. I don't want to freak you out on your first night here because you got to spend the night here. And like, no, what? I was like, well, we haven't lived here very long, but when we moved in upstairs, there's like a little crawl space between the wall, which is actually true. There is a little space between the walls I found. And I told him, I said, yeah, we were straightening it up and moving in, and I saw that little space, and I crawled in there, and what? I was like, well, I found something in there. And I was like, you know what, we better stop. I don't think I can keep going and tell you guys this. And some of them were getting kind of scared, and some of them were like, no, what'd you find? I was like, well, I found a box. There's a box there. And by this point, they're kind of like, I don't know. And yeah, so I pulled the box out, and I was like, yeah, you guys don't want to know what I found in that box. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, there's a baby skeleton in there. Oh my gosh, what? No way, is that for real? I'm like, yeah, no, it's true. I pulled the box out, and there's a skeleton in there. And they're like, oh my gosh, what did you do? And I said, well, I don't know. I mean, what I couldn't call the cops because they might think, that I killed some baby or something. Like, I just moved here, found this skeleton in the walls. And what'd you do? I said, well, I didn't know. I can't bury it in the yard. That's kind of weird. I didn't know what to do with it. So it's out in the garage. No way. Are you serious? I'm like, yeah. You want me to go? No, I can't show you. No, you want me to go? You want me to go get it? Okay. Are you sure? Because you guys got to spend the night here. You sure you want me to go get the box? So I got up, started walking away, and they were freaking out. I mean, I turned around. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. There's no box. But anyway, that was my story. And I told them that was all made up on the spot. And one girl was crying. Yeah, anyway, so those girls were freaked out. And I told them next year if I do it with another group of girls, I'm actually going to have a little wooden box and put like a little fake skeleton in it that I get at Halloween. Because that story I told you just made up on the spot. But anyway. But I also have one more. When I was in Cub Scouts, Cub Scouts, we went to camp one time, and they told us a story. Or it was in Indiana, and it was a lot of Indian Native Americans back then in that area. And they told us a story of how they had caught an Indian Native American, and I can't remember the exact story, but anyway, they burned out his eyes. It's pretty gruesome, but and I guess he got away or something. But anyway, so the story was old Red Eye because his eyes had been burned out. And so we would go walking at night. Every now and then they would have somebody running around out in the woods with like a red flashlight. And so you would think it was the Red Eye Indian. Man, that's pretty creepy. For a little kid, Now I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't scare me. Maybe it would. But back then it was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. But I don't know if you can use any of that. But good luck. Can't wait to listen to it. Talk to you later. Bye.
So that was Christopher Tupa.
Yeah,
he had a couple interesting stories. I like that.
He really did. The first one was awesome that he came up with.
With a top of his head. I like that. That was funny.
Baby skeleton in a box, and that's something
that freaking out.
That could become a good folklore. Deal.
Yeah, especially if you're doing something like that. Here's the thing I kind of got with all of these stories tonight, and what Chris just added to it was they were campfire stories.
Right.
That was the theme tonight, campfire stories.
Right.
And how you can kind of like get everybody's goat and scare everybody. For us, like I said, to go to bed saying, hey, just over that ridge is where the crazies happened.
Exactly.
Or the Camp Hookman guy, the Camp Hazen, he never got caught. He was hiding out in the backwoods. He could be back there. Yeah, that's what made those kind of scary. And the fact that he's trying to tease these preteen girls with, I got a little box with a skeleton in it. Y'all want to see it? And,
it makes him that guy.
Yeah.
Because if he has the box, he had to do something to put that skeleton in the box.
Right. In a way,
Chris
certainly.
is the one that they're fearing.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, is this guy the guy who did it? Or is this house creepy? What's going on? Yeah, there's so many ways to look at that, you know.
Now you know the story of the
Red-Eye Indian. Yeah, old Red-Eye.
Indian.
Yeah.
What is the story about that?
Real quick, I never heard the story up here, but I've read the story. And,
Okay.
and the story kind of goes along those lines that, back during the American settlers and Indian wars, the white man decided to be a little bit more brazen and vicious, and they grabbed the story always goes that, an Indian brave, captured and basically had to be tortured, and to teach him a lesson for like spying on the what was going on in the white man's camps was to have his eyes burnt out with hot pokers, and that was how he got the glowing red eyes, was from the glow of the hot poker sticks. The way I heard the story, the way I read the story, I should say, because of his Native American ancestrage, he was able to summon his animal spirits and his ancestry spirits to help him see in the night. So he was able to walk around at night, and through kind of like a ghost vision, he was able to use these newfound eyes which glowed red, basically. Yeah, I'm kind of paraphrasing the story so people don't freak out when you hear this, but it goes along those lines. And so you'd see him walking in the woods behind the trees with these red eyes. And that's another one of these folk legends that just kind of like pop up all over the country.
And that could be a possum or a raccoon in the tree, and you're just like, there he is!
And you hear it. Yes, exactly. So you hear this, and and they're all geared around young, open-minded, mush-brained kids.
Naive.
It's just
Mush brains.
Mush brains. Because we're mush brains back then. You're open to just anything pouring in and go, that's real. Oh my God, it's totally real. I saw it.
And Monday back in school.
Yeah, and then you go, dude, I was at camp, and this is what happened, and we saw this. Oh my God, you stayed there? Yeah, we had to stay there. Oh my God, I would have left. I would have walked out in the middle of the night. You're going to walk. But of course, you're 7, 8 years old. You're like, I didn't even think of walking out. I was scared. I slept in my tent and just stared at the foot of my bed with my sleeping bag. And yeah, I would have walked out. I love people that say that. So, I would have just walked out.
Oh, forget it.
Yeah, okay. It's 12:30 at night, dead of the forest.
Which direction are you going to go?
Exactly. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere.
You're going to hit a tree. Man.
Well, Kev, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for coming out to my little bonfire here.
Should I kick it out?
Thank you. I got a bucket of sand I was going to dump on it.
Oh, good, because this is starting to hurt. Thank you.
No problem.
Thanks for also making a sound effect.
You're welcome.
You saved me some editing. I appreciate that.
Idiot. So, well, you know what? I think tonight was more just to have a little fun.
Definitely.
Figure we ended off the summer because we're wrapping summer up now. And
that's right.
I figure what a better way to have a little, bonfire, a little campfire.
That was nice.
Tell some campfire stories.
And I really enjoyed it, too.
Yeah, it was fun. It was just a quick way to get together, I think. And, I hope people enjoy it. I hope it inspires them to tell us their stories or some different stories, because I think we covered a lot of these or some of them are urban legends that are well known, and others are local gems.
Of course,
but
and definitely good stories to tell to your children or around another fire.
Yeah, maybe never heard them before, and you do use them at another campfire, or if you're a counselor. Or somebody who's going to be a counselor and way to scare a bunch of little kids.
Yeah, and put a skeleton. And we want to thank Christopher Tupa, definitely.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Are you a skeptic, or are you open-minded? That number again is 571-408-CERB or 9372.
Skeleton box, I loved it. That was beautiful.
Definitely.
It's too bad he didn't have it. That would have been priceless to see these girls' reactions.
Well, he does have 2 kids, so it's still possible, Chris.
One of them a skeleton?
No.
Oh, okay. No, I just want to. Did you hear that in the woods?
What was that?
I don't know.
Maybe it was the story of the crazy giggler.
The crazy giggler hangs out in the woods.
There's a crazy giggler.
Maybe we cut the fire out a little early.
Well, it is a little dark. Dude, I'm too scared. I'm running. Now you should giggle.
Hurry up, get in the house. Get in the house.
You wanted to tell me something else. I'm sorry, I ran.
I don't remember. I have no idea.
You did. You wanted to tell me. You wanted me to remain something.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm out of breath.
No. Well, Kev, I had a lot of fun tonight.
Me too.
Again, I think it's going to be our little theme. But again, Kev, I want you and our listeners to remain open-minded as you seek the answers to life's mysteries. Have a good night.
All of Zerbinator's music and podcasts are under the Creative Commons license, which allows retelling and rebroadcasting as long as the author is notified and credited. For more great escape pods, please visit www.zerbinator.wordpress.com. If you would like to contact Zerbinatorland, you can send an email to instrumentally@gmail.com or give us a call at 571-408-ZERB or 9372.
It made him a little angry because he knew now he would never meet a mate.
Oh gosh, not with
Hurt
not
in a
with
fishing
another hook.
accident? No.
Oh, you brought Jerry,
I didn't realize.
and he brought his
he had
piano.
his piano with him. That's
That's an outtake right there. Come here, you son of a bitch. He knows it too. Come here.